G'day guys, welcome back. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yes, you are here today because apparently the European Champions Cup final was on tonight, and it is the best club rugby in the world. So I have to watch it. I have to watch this and get an understanding of the potential Frenchmen that are going to be coming over to play against the All Blacks, and more importantly, the Englishmen that are going to be coming over playing against the Wallabies, right? I have to get an understanding of the enemies that we're going to be facing in July. But hey, this was an interesting game, I have to say. The Bordeaux-Bègles, right, is that how you say it? Or, you know, I'm just going to call them bagels, right? The Bordeaux-Bègles was, despite the scoreline, I thought was more dominant overall. They did kick away so many opportunities. It's like the major play. This is actually the style they play with the French national team as well. They get the ball out wide and they just kind of like grab and kick the balls down the sideline, and using that, tremendous speed talent they got on the wing in the form of Damien Penaud and Biel to kind of like pressure those kicks and get some results in terms of turnover, or maybe just get the ball up and straight in for the try. And that's basically the core game plan out of the Bagels. And despite the overwhelming dominance, I thought the Saints really, the Saints really hung in there. They defended and absorbed a lot of pressure. There was a bunch of yellow cards as well, and they had to defend at one point with 2 players in the bin. And still, only 8 point the difference. I thought the Saints had it. The fact that the halftime score was 20-20. I was surprised. I thought the Bagels was gonna probably head in halftime with a convincing lead, just based on the style that was playing. And this game was played at a neck break speed. Okay, this was like, it was like, everybody was trying to play. It's almost like the game has been shortened in 60 minutes, and everybody's trying to exert 80 minutes of energy in 60 minutes. That I'm not sure. Obviously, okay. Excuse me. Firstly, I don't watch the Champions Cup, and I don't watch the top 14, but I've watched Champions Cup before. I don't know if either of these teams plays this fast from what I've seen in previously. Like the speed, I think the Bagels probably play this fast because the French national team plays in a very similar style. But I don't know if the last time I watched the Saints was the Champions, not Champions Cup, the what do you call it, the Premiership final, and I don't remember them playing at this neck break speed at all. And as a result, there was a lot of handling errors from the Saints, and I'm just wondering if they actually played this fast this year, like generally, or are they just really pushing themselves a little bit faster than they normally were and making those mistakes? I think some of you guys probably let me know that, because it looks like to me they're playing a little bit too fast than what I remembered, and there's a lot of mistakes as a result of it. Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what it looks like to me when it comes to the Saints. In addition, I thought there was a lot of breakdown issues left and right. The Bagels were really clinical in the breakdown, so a lot of times they just don't commit. If there's not an opportunity, they don't commit to the breakdown at all. And then when there is an opportunity, they'll flood the breakdown and get a turnover. So you end up in a situation where the Saints are not able to commit defenders into the breakdown when they're attacking, when they need them, when they want to get the Bagels to commit people to the breakdown. And as a result, the Bagels just have like one guy or maybe 2 guys making a tackle, and everybody's already lined up for the set up for the next carry. And as a result, the Saints weren't going forward. The Saints were actually going backs, and that is because of the fact that they couldn't commit, they couldn't draw enough defenders into the breakdown post contact. And I think that, I'm not sure what they can do to make that a little bit better, but maybe like having the forwards, try to, wiggle a bit more with some support players pushing behind them, get some, get the defense team to commit more defenders to stop like kind of the full momentum sort of thing. Not sure how you're gonna stop that, but it looks like to me they weren't able to, successfully commit their Bagels players into the breakdown to create the overlap they were looking for out wide. And also, I thought the overall kicking game from the game was very, very, very very clinical, very test match like. But the Bagels did have more variety than the Saints, and as a result, it was almost like watching. When there's a kicking game going on, you kind of almost already expecting what the Saints gonna do, like whether it's a box kick or whether it's a kick the ball for touch. Whereas when the Bagels were playing, it's like you don't really know what kind of kick's gonna come. Is it gonna be a bit of a chick behind? It's gonna be a grubber down the sideline. You really don't know, and that's the big difference. I think it's the variety, the unpredictability from the Bagels kicking game as well that really gave him the edge. When it comes to the tighter areas, I thought the Saints maybe had the edge there. The scrum, I thought went for the Saints way. The referee there was a lot of pressure under the Bagels. There was a few collapses, especially in the second half against the Bagels. And I thought the lineouts was struggling a little bit for the Saints. If they could have tidied that up a bit, they probably could use more of that forward dominance and set piece dominance to try to overall commit themselves as an edge. But they couldn't really do that because the lineout just wasn't. Yeah, the lineout throws just wasn't really that clinical overall. I think there was maybe 4 or 5 lost for the Saints from their own lineout throws, which is just not quite good enough, especially for a finals match in this sort of occasion. With that being said, and obviously, in the Six Nations, green and red is considered a colorblind issue. So, Ireland play Wales, they have to change the jersey color, and somehow tonight we've got dark green and dark blue with stripes and white numbers, and somehow that's not a colorblind issue. So it was really difficult to see. I think there was one point, in fact, the Saints player, Alex Mitchell, tried to milk a penalty in front of his goalpost, and he threw a ball into a player on the ground, and it was his own player. The referee was like, that was your own player, no penalty was given. But hey, if the players on the field couldn't tell who's who, I think there might be a bit of an issue when it comes to the dress codes there on the field. Now, there was, in addition to that, there was a big incident tonight where George Furbank was knocked out about 5 minutes into the game. Now, first up, a lot of people like to say that I'm against certain teams, I'm biased or anything. Look, only team I support in the Northern Hemisphere is Wales, right? Because I live in Wales, right? I live in the greatest part of Wales, and that is New South Wales, right? Outside of that, I don't really support any other team in Europe. So when I look at this incident with Furbank, I am completely neutral, okay? Now, you can go watch the replay, and this is something that I thought was I think is a little bit fishy. I think there may be some malintent into this. And there's my assessment, right? Furbank there was a little collision in the air. It was a crossfield kick collision in the air. He fell down, and he kind of fell down backwards like this. And it looked like he was kind of getting up, and the ball was not directly over Furbank's head. The ball was actually to the Furbank's right, it's actually going over to his, I guess, to my right, but your left, right? Anyway, the ball's going over his head this direction, right? And you can see on the background from the replay, the ball was way behind and farther out, I guess that way from, I'm trying to get myself on camera, yeah? Over to the back in I guess in that direction, right? In that direction. It's going out back way. If you look at camera, the ball is probably about that direction and way out that way, right? And it just doesn't look like to me that he was actually in the line to block, to be he shouldn't be even running towards Furbank. He could have just gone around him because the ball was actually going away from Furbank. And I don't know. I feel like and also Furbank is I'm not 100% sure how this, but based on my sort of from what I've could gather in terms of information from the commentary, maybe Furbank has some kind of it's a left-footed or right-footed, and this in terms of when it comes to the kicking game, they're basically taking out one side of the one side of the kicking from the Saints, and it made it more difficult for them to clear the ball out on one particular side because Furbank was taken out. Is that my understanding of what basically was the issue in terms of some of the clearance kicks? I thought that was definitely avoidable. I'm not sure if that was, I don't know. I thought that was definitely avoidable. Let me know your thoughts, and that's just from a completely neutral point of view, and maybe there is something in it for that reason in terms of the kicking game. But let's move on and talk about the rest of the game. I think that's pretty much it. I think the French team looked really good. I think the style that they play, the speed that they play is very similar to the national team. And I thought that maybe the Saints, try to play the kicking game, and they just didn't quite have all the tools that was available for them, like the Bagels had overall. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the stats of the game. 4 tries to 2, and Saints was able to keep themselves in the game with some of the penalties earlier on. But yeah, 2 penalty goals each as well. 50% kick success rate for the... Which side is which, actually? This is so confusing. For the Begles? Yeah, okay. So for the Begles, it's a 50% kicking. Which side? Yeah, I think the Begles on the right hand. Yeah. So the Begles 50% kicking, 100% for the Saints. Run meters 510 for the Saints, despite all the run meters that couldn't quite get there. The Begles 373. A lot of that distance that the Begles got was from the kicking, so they didn't have to run that much meters to get themselves on the ball. 145 carries to the Saints, 110 for the Begles. 10 clean breaks for the Begles, 5 for the Saints. 14 defenders beaten out of 13 for the Saints. So despite all more run meters, the Saints couldn't actually break through nearly as much. Territory 52% to the Begles, 48 to the Saints. 46% possession to the Begles and 54 to the Saints. Defense, we've got 107 tackles for the Saints. That's actually pretty low for one of these big matches. 78% missed completion rate. 135 tackles made for the Begles. 84 tackle completion rate. This is what I'm talking about. The lineouts probably could put a bit more pressure on here. A few lost here. 87% completion rate for the Saints. 95% completion rate for the Begles. If the Saints could improve their lineouts a little bit to 100% and maybe put more pressure on here, they could have focused on that. They could have focused on that set piece a little bit more, because the fact that I thought the Saints had a bit more scrum dominance. Overall, there was a bit of a scrum issue for the Saints, but I think that overall the scrum was more dominant for the Saints. Overall, like some of the referee were giving out penalties to the Saints was their own feet, so it doesn't count as a scrum loss for the Begles. Kicking 27 kicks from hand from the Saints, 831 kick meters to the Begles, 38 kicks from hand, 1,073 kick meters. 2 penalty goals from each of their own kicks. Breakdowns, the ruck success rate pretty even overall, 94%, and more success rate 0 to 80%. So the Begles didn't really, the Saints didn't really utilize them more as well. Again, shows a bit of an issue for them in terms of their line-out execution there. Penalties conceded, 14 against the Saints, 11 against the Begles. 2 yellow cards, 1 yellow card against the Begles. I think, there's no 20-minute red card in this, right? Because the referee was like trying to decide that red card on the field. I thought one of the yellow card that was given out against the Begles could have been potentially a red. It looked like a no-arm tackle, shoulder tucked to the head. Potentially could have been a red card, but hey, could have been a 20-minute red card. Instead, they just didn't really entertain that at all. I thought it's really funny. If this doesn't have 20-minute red card, but they do have that law where the halfback is not allowed to be touched. Like, okay, so it's like, it's like one of the aspects of the game of rugby is making everything a contest, and they've kept the law that reduced the contest of the game, and yet they retain the red card to the threshold out. Like, anyway, I think it's kind of stupid. But in case you're like, we don't want to wash down the importance of the red card. 20-minute red card is an addition to normal red card. All the stuff that normally gets you a red card, like abusing the referee or punching somebody, still gets you sent off for the full game. 20-minute red card exclusively for incidents like this, where players probably had a bit of a incident or something that caused a dangerous tackle. That's exactly what 20-minute red card is for. So it's not actually a reduction of the red card. It's an addition to make the game better, essentially, in my opinion. But hey, people will argue me with that anyway. But yeah, there was 2 yellow cards against the Saints as well, and I think one of them was a high shot, and then the other one was a repeated penalty. There was deliberate knock on. That was not called. There was English commentary, so maybe it was a bit biased. There was deliberate knock on for the French team, not given a yellow card, which I thought not really. I didn't think that was a yellow card for a deliberate knock on. It was almost like he went in for a tackle and got him, just a fingertip to the ball, sort of thing. It didn't look like a deliberate, it didn't look that deliberate for me. And his arm wasn't like out extended. His arm was just like half extended, looking like he was, going for a wrap for a tackle sort of thing. So yeah, I thought that was that. But overall, I thought the referee wasn't that great, to be honest. This was probably one of the worst from Nika I've ever seen from him. And obviously with Marius Jonker in TMO, there was a lot of stuff being missed, and it was never really good. Marius Jonker, I mean, it is what it is. Something that you sort of expect from him anyway. Anyway, let's have a look at the scoring of the game, some of the tries of the game. Quick, just talk recap. So yeah, 2 minutes into the game, the Saints actually started off really fast with the first try on the ball. There was like an early penalty right in front of the 20, inside of 22, and Alex Mitchell taking a quick tap. There was offsides everywhere. Should have been a penalty already, a yellow card for offside, making the tackle. But hey, you know, it is. I think that should have been a penalty. But anyway, there was a penalty advantage, lots of crash ball, pick and go, and the first try was scored by the Saints. The Saints are leading 7 points to nil. 2 minutes in, Furbank got knocked out 5 minutes of the game. After that, 6 minutes again, there was a penalty to the Begles. There was a line out that went for a little bit of dry, didn't get anywhere. A few crash ball, got pretty close, and then eventually the ball went out wide to Demi Panel. The last player drew up 2 defenders, threw the ball over, and Panel went in for the try untouched. 7 points to 5. 20 minutes into the game, Coleman, former Wallaby and current I think he plays for Tonga, current Tonga international, gets a try into the corner. Again, this was a weird kind of play. There was a knock on from the French side, and Jalibert scooped up the ball, really just in crazy foot, threw a bunch of forwards, went sideways, and then he threw the ball over the top to Coleman into the corner for a try. 7 points to 12. 23 minutes in, the Saints kicked 3 points there. There was another thing where there was a neck choke, and Nika said it was fine because there was no twist. I don't know what. So it's like that was actually anyway. Anyway, should still be a penalty even without a twist. But anyway, after that there was 10 points, 12. After that, 27 minutes in the game, some early pressure. There was a ball that was kicked out of the ruck, and Alex Mitchell got tackled in front of his goal line, and then just got piled on with a turnover penalty, and then the Bagels kicked this one. 15 points to 10. Lots of handling errors starting to pile up for the Saints at this point. 29 minutes into the game, there was a shoulder, yellow card to the Bagels, number 6. There was a deliberate knock on 31 minutes. Some of the commentary say it was a yellow. I thought it was okay. It wasn't just penalty was enough. There was 3 points taken by Saints there. There was then the score was 13 points to 15. There was another yellow card to Tommy Freeman for the Saints. 35 minutes. He was taken out of the player in the air, and this was the first yellow card for the Saints. 37 minutes of the game, there was a line out. There was more. There was nice little grabber behind that threw a lot of mess. The ball was blocked, and Jalibert kind of like scooped out the ball, and he just like scooped out the ball after the blocked, like in the ruck. He essentially turned it over, and then they just quickly threw the ball out over the top to Penol for another try. 20 points to 13, 37 minutes in. Just before halftime, Alex Cole scores for the Northampton Saints. They had a penalty that went for the line out. Lots of piling pressure down center field, and eventually the ball came out, switched back to the blind side, and then Slyhorn bumped over the last defender, and then pumped the ball back in field for his support lock for the try. Alex Coles, who scored that one at halftime, scored 20 points apiece. 2 minutes in the second half, it looked like Henry Pellock scored a try. There was a line out. They did a little dummy more, and then they went to the short side, and then there was a nice little pass from the prop to Pellock. For the hooker to Pellock, who went in for the try, and then that was denied because one of the players was held in at the ruck. One of the defenders was held in by the Saints, and there was leading into the gap that allowed for the run through. 43 minutes in the game, the Bagels was pounding the Saints at this point. Just lots of pressure. There was a yellow card on a high shot on Moefana. At this point, what's his name? Tommy Freeman hasn't come back on yet. So there's actually 2 yellow cards. for some reason that the Bagels decided to take 3 points. 20 points to 23, and then they started to realizing they wanted to pile in some more pressure. 48 minutes, look like they have scored for themselves to potentially put the scoreboard 30 points to 20. They had a more that just went straight through, and from replay, it looked like the player dropped the ball, no try. So they went back at it, a lot of play. It looked like there was some forward pass going into this one, but eventually there was a lot of power play, a couple forwards. I think it's Tarzo, it wasn't his name, number 6, I think it was, that drove the ball through for the try with some help from his mates. Yeah, it looked like there was a forward pass leading into it. The referee was not entertaining that. 20 points to 28. Like the 2 yellow card period, they didn't really capitalize that at all. And then, yeah, eventually they did get muscled themselves through. 28 points to 28. 28 points to 20. 55 minutes in. And after this, both teams really struggled quite a bit. Lots of kicking that's going out of the bounds. And, yeah, there was a penalty later on where the Knight clearly was taking the ball out from the right too slow against the Saints. And the referee said you can't play the Knight, which is just such a terrible law. There was again later on, a player was taken out in the air. No penalty. No yellow card. I think Mitchell probably should have got a yellow card for taking a penalty in the air, but they said that was okay. There was a scrum penalty late for the Saints, but yeah, it just wasn't really getting there. There was the more the Saints tried to lift the tempo, the more mistakes they made and they were making, and then eventually Bordeaux closed out the game by keeping the game played inside the Saints half, making it difficult for them to exit, and then ran the clock down and won the match. So yeah, let me know your thoughts about this game. Let me know your thoughts about some of the controversies. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Cheers.